I believe the biggest problem in the world is that people don't understand themselves enough. This show is designed to help you understand your INFJ personality, heal from your past, and create a life that you love. I'm Sarah Kuhn, and this is the Quiet Ones podcast. One of the things that I struggle with the most is a lack of self-love and confidence. Some people call it self-love deficiency disorder. I've spent a lot of time working on this, and I want to share what I've learned with you just in case you struggle with the same thing. On this Thursday episode of the Quiet Ones podcast, we're talking all about confidence. Let's take a listen. The most difficult part of building confidence is taking action. So many times we wait until we feel confident to actually start taking action. We feel like we need to learn something more. Maybe there's another book that I can read about the subject. Maybe there's a video that I can watch. Maybe there's a podcast that I can listen to. We always feel like we need to learn more, that we don't know enough. But the thing is, there's always going to be something more to learn. In order to actually feel confident about doing something, especially something new, you have to dive in and actually start doing the thing. You have to make the mistakes firsthand. Even reading about them isn't going to be enough. When I first started my blog about 3 years ago now, I was super not confident. I was really concerned because I didn't know how to write, and I was positive it was going to be terrible. I didn't even know what to write about. I picked writing about my personality type because it was a big deal for me at the time, and it had changed my life so much when I learned what my personality type was. But I had no idea how to write a blog. I had a vague idea of where a blog should be on the internet because I had one years ago that, of course, I didn't stick to. So I went to that website, which was Blogspot, and I don't even think it existed anymore, at least not the way that I had remembered it did. So then I was like, okay, well, what now? I went to my favorite tool, which is Google. And, anytime you have a question, especially for me, because I'm super independent, I would much rather ask Google than ask anybody else. And I didn't know anybody who was a writer or who had a blog or even a website. So I went to Google, and Google is like WordPress. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to start writing. And so I got a free WordPress website. And then I realized that you have to buy a subscription to it, and you need a domain name. And then you have to put all this work into a website. And I'm like, I have no idea how to build a WordPress website. But I knew that I wasn't going to learn how to do it without actually doing it. There were video tutorials on how to build one. There are books that you can buy about it, but reading all of the books wasn't going to help me. I wasn't actually going to learn until I dove in and started making all the mistakes. And I was terrified because I know that with a website, just a little change can be like a massive thing, and there isn't an undo button, so it could be a massive problem. So I'm like, okay, this is terrifying and frightening, but I'm not going to learn how to do it until I actually do it. So once I had the website looking reasonably okay, then it's like, okay, now it's time to write. And I'm like, oh, I'm terrible at writing. And I don't know why I feel like I should write, because it is not my strong suit. But maybe that's part of why I feel called to write, because it's challenging for me. And I think that we need challenges in our life. A lot of times we think that we want something that's really easy, but it's the times in my life that I've had challenges where I've really grown. And working through those challenges and figuring out how to get through them, that's been what's helped me build confidence in my life more than anything else. So when I was working on my blog, I knew that it was a massive project, but I also knew that it was something that I wanted to do because I'd been thinking about it for years. And I knew that I wasn't just going to leave it at that point, that whatever came up, however difficult it was, however challenging it was, I was going to figure out what the answer was. And slowly But surely it turned into something a lot bigger than what I thought that it would be. I was thinking maybe 100 people will read it, if that. I wasn't expecting anything big. But this morning I was updating my bio, and so I was counting up all the people that have looked at my blog and my website, listened to my podcast just to update the numbers. There's over 750,000 people who have read my blog, and there's well over 150,000 people who've listened to my podcast. I'm just shocked and surprised. And, 3 years ago, I never would have expected those numbers. So it's very, very humbling and just amazing to even think about, honestly. To think that I started with something so small that was just a New Year's resolution, a simple challenge, some way that I thought, well, maybe I can help people and maybe this will give me something to do. Um, maybe it'll help one person. And to think that there's 750,000 people who've read my blog, that's a big deal. So I was thinking about that too, because I made some New Year's resolutions for this year. And one of them required me building a brand new website from the ground up. And I've been doing that over the past couple of weeks. And I had that same feeling of it being challenging and overwhelming and exhausting. And, it doesn't look the way that I think that it should. And I'm not quite sure what all the messaging is on it yet. And I had to sit there for a couple of days with it and just say, okay, this is a mess, but that's okay. It's going to get better the more that I do it and the more that I write, because it's another blog. But the more that I write, the more that I'm going to figure out exactly what the message is, and it's just going to take some time to get going. There's a couple of other New Year's resolutions that I have. One of them is dating, which was another challenge the last couple of weeks. I started a profile on one of the big online dating sites, and that was another thing that was like, oh, I just feel terrible about this. Like, I do not feel confident at all. I don't like any of the pictures that I have. I don't know what to write. And then I start looking at the people that I've matched with, and I'm like, this is a whole new level of like frustration and worry and just like overall panic, right? But then I stopped in the middle of that and I said, no, hold on. This is a long process. This is not a today process. I'm not finding the love of my life today. I signed up for a year subscription because I'm going to be committed for a year. I'm going to put in the work and see what happens. And I went back to thinking about my blog. I tell the story about my blog a lot because it's a big deal for me. And I think that it shows what happens when you stick with something. A lot of times we want results right now, right? We want to start a blog and we want 1 million people to read it today. We don't want 1 million people to read it over 3 years. Like 3 years is a long time, right? And if I thought that it was going to take me 3 years to find the love of my life, I would be like, oh, that is forever from today. But thinking about it, with the kind of perspective of starting my blog, 3 years really isn't that long of an amount of time. And I would be okay if it took me 3 years. I know the kind of work that I put into my blog that I do on a daily and a weekly basis. And to see the results, I know that it's worth it. And so for me, it's translating that success to other projects that I have that I want to do, other things in my life, not just in business, not just in writing, in dating, in some other areas of my life too. I know that it's a slow process. I always want instant results. I think we get used to instant results, right? We get used to, you have a headache, you take Advil, 30 minutes later, you don't have a headache anymore. Even now, I live in Boston, and so a lot of stuff, like if I need groceries, there are like 5 different apps that I can order groceries from, and they'll be here in 2 to 3 hours. If I want a new book, I can order it on Amazon and usually it'll be here tomorrow. So, we get used to that. And we think if it doesn't get here right away, then it's a problem. I ordered an ice maker for my birthday, my birthday present to myself and my Christmas present to myself, really, because I only bought one this year, but it was an expensive gift. But it makes ice that's like really soft, chewable ice. If you've ever been to the fast food restaurant Sonic, then you know what kind of ice I'm talking about. It is the best kind of ice, and it is totally worth paying $500 for a countertop ice maker because it's amazing. And I use it all day, every single day, so it was totally worth it. But when I ordered it from Amazon, it took them a week to ship it to me. And I'm looking at, like, I ordered it, you just spend $500 on something and it's like, oh, this is a lot. I'm still kind of like, I don't know. Do I deserve this? Do I need this? I can spend the money somewhere else, all that kind of stuff. And then I look at the shipping timetable on Amazon and I'm like, what? What happened to tomorrow? It's not going to be here tomorrow. It's not going to be here 2 days from now. Like, I have to wait 7 days. Are you people crazy? And then I started thinking about that in perspective. Like, okay, it is the holidays because I ordered it right around Christmas time, right before Christmas, I think. So I'm like, okay, it's the holidays. Like, 7 days probably isn't too much to ask, for an appliance. It's not really big. It sits on top of the countertop. It's probably like the size of a KitchenAid mixer. But it's definitely heavy. So they probably had to ship it specially, or maybe it came direct from the manufacturer. I don't know. But it was a lot, when you're used to overnight shipping and then it's like 7 days, it's like, okay, try not to panic. It will be here. You just have to wait a little bit longer. And like I said, it was totally worth the wait. And it's the same thing, with confidence. When you're talking about building confidence, we want it to happen overnight, right? We feel like there is some magic secret that we don't know. And if we could just know whatever that secret is, then we could have the answer. But the secret, the magic sauce that you're looking for, is that it takes time, and it takes diving into whatever it is that you want to build confidence in without having confidence. If you want to start a blog, it takes starting the blog, feeling like you are not enough and you have no idea what you're doing, but you show up anyway. You do it messy and you do it scared, and that's how it works. And for me, like, I have zero confidence in dating, but I'm showing up. I'm doing it messy and I'm doing it scared, and it's terrifying and scary through very scary through the whole process. But I'm showing up and I'm learning as I go. I'm making it work. And the same thing goes with whatever it is that you want to do, whether you're trying to lose weight or you want to make friends, learning how to talk to people. I've been encountering a lot of that too, because one of the big things in online dating is that you have to text people, and I don't really like texting people. I have like this fear of texting people. I know that probably sounds kind of crazy. I don't like talking to people on the phone, first of all. I don't like calling people on the phone. I love it when people call me. Totally fine with that. I feel like it's a good thing when people call me. When I call them, I feel like I'm bothering them. I don't know why. It's just how my brain works. And text messaging is the same way. You kind of have to know somebody before you know how to text them, right? Because some people are like super, it's almost like writing an email, right? You have to put their name and then they sign it at the bottom. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. Like, I don't go that far. Most of the time, I just, the people that I know, I usually send them memes or strange pictures that I find on social media, and then we laugh about that, and then we start talking about what's going on. But there are very few people. There are a couple of people though that I text who will start by saying, "Hey Sarah, how's your day going?" And for me, I usually just dive into the conversation rather than being super formal. But it feels weird talking to guys. Maybe because I don't have a lot of guy friends and I don't really know what to say. And um I also have this problem with like looking at a guy's profile on the online dating site that I'm on, and like imagining how our life would be together, and then like starting to go down this road of like falling in love with somebody that I've never even talked to. And I'm like, okay, like I need to rein this in seriously. I need to figure out how to be a little bit more detached, and probably a little bit less anxious about just saying, hey, what's up? Like, how's it going? Um, but you know, like I was saying, it takes practice. It takes diving in and feeling awkward and feeling like, you know, you're being messy and scared, and that's how you do it. That's the secret. That's the secret that you're looking for. You got to put in the work. You just have to start taking action. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate every single one of you. Please make sure that you subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a review wherever you listen to the podcast. It helps other people to be able to find us. Thanks again for listening, and I will see you again next week. Hi there! I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. Please consider subscribing to my channel. I'm working very hard to produce content that will help you, and I really, really appreciate your support. Also, if you want some more inspiration, check out this video right here.